Yeah, most people said no.
Most people said no. Yeah.
My thing is that I don't like the thing is that with every socialism is a good idea on paper.
Yeah.
Everything's a good idea on paper. It's
Check 1, 2.
Christianity looks good when you read the Bible. But look what we've done with it.
Yeah.
Capitalism is exactly the same way. Wow, you're free to you have a chance to be a billionaire. And what are my chances?
Yeah.
Yeah, tell me the percentage wise. What are the statistics?
It's very low.
Very low.
And I think I don't know. It's a hard subject though, because you know the way that society is now, it's going in this direction where like people can't conceive themselves succeeding in this like climate or environment, and it's really hard to, and I think it's getting much harder because for different reasons though why people think that it's getting harder. I think it's getting absolutely more difficult because there's less education on all of this. Like there's not a single, everything that I learned about cryptocurrency, blockchain, stocks, money, finance, I had to go to like YouTube, I had to read books on it and everything, and they taught us nothing like this in school. And there's some things that they, you know, like history and stuff. I love history.
Yeah, same.
But,
my favorite.
Yeah, and so I'm glad we learned that. But there's some stuff in school that like really made no sense. Never, like there was certain, like I remember taking chemistry, and sometimes some of the things were applicable, like how molecules bond to make water, or how, you know, how nuclear reactions happen, but we don't need to figure out the atomic weight of two atoms smushed together.
Right.
You know, it doesn't make any sense for us to learn that.
Right, it doesn't. And my thing is that I was watching Robert Kiyosaki, and he's the guy who made Rich Dad Poor Dad. I'm not really a big fan of capitalism, but I was watching this clip today on Facebook where he was talking about how basically his dad had a PhD and was the head of education, I think, in the city. And they said, and he asked his dad, why aren't we allowed to learn about money? Because the government decides what we get to learn. And I said, that's called programming. That's called, they literally designed deliberately for us to be poor. Yeah. They like want us to fail. And it's like, but then they expect us to owe them. Yeah. So our education system is literally colonized from the behaviors that you learn from your parents, whether you're white, black, it doesn't matter. We've been in this country under Roman influence for the last 2,000 years. We've all had it inbred in us, this colonized mindset.
So with that being said, what do you think about other subjects being taught in school recently? Like, and I know we're not professionals on any of this by any means, but like I've noticed that, you know, critical race theory and whatnot has been taught, or they're working on teaching that in school. Right. So like my sister is still in high school, and they're talking about, you know, they're putting a lot more focus on social liberation from many types of people, from, you know, race and ethnicity, sexual orientation, gender, and all of that. And do you think that that's a crucial thing for everyone to learn in high school, or do you think it's more crucial than finance? I think we can learn about it, but I don't think any of that shit is more crucial than learning how to manage finance, because that's the real root of a lot of people's stress.
And here's the thing: is that the hierarchy that we've divided through sex, of class, and race have already been, the foundation's already been laid, the empire's already up. Yeah. So learning about it is literally, you know, it's like we're gonna hope that people are diverse, but we're literally using the same labels that colonizers said. This is what I call this. Yeah. I call this black. I call this white. I consider myself to be the authority over all of it. Yeah. That is literally our education. Yeah. Our history is literally from the European conquest. We talk about discovering shit that's already there, you know, and saying, well, we discovered this, and it's like it's a great thing that we killed all these natives to get this country. That's like the idea. And so, but it's the same thing with everything else. So now that we're adding more labels onto that, it's like distracting us from the issue of that. We need to stop learning about this and create our own. Knowledge.
I think the craziest thing is how we teach history globally from like a Western standpoint, when there are countries like China and India whose population surpasses us 5 to 10-fold. There are way more. There are 4 or 5 more times more people in India than there are in North America, like all of North America, Mexico, the United States, Canada, and whatever's north of there. Like all of that like pales in comparison to the amount of people that live in India. So it's weird how we adopted this Western history, and that's how we describe history rather than from another perspective, from a massive population. And I mean, I'm sure they have their way of teaching history, but it's just insane that like it's whoever is richer, whoever has more, and whoever like more power, more money, they are the ones who decide. I don't know directly, but that community is what decides how history and humanity is depicted.
Right.
And it's so, I don't know, it's bananas. I think it's crazy.
I mean this they really showed their ass during the pandemic though. And this isn't even a party thing. It's just like you have 78-year-olds making decisions for 20 and 30-year-olds. I find that a very problem. You have maybe 10 years to live.
Yeah.
Go get in the retirement home.
Live your life.
Live the rest of your short ass life.
Your golden years. This is your.
Go spend time with your family.
Yeah.
Quincy Jones stopped producing records at 60. He's like, I gotta go spend time with my family.
Yeah.
He took a step back. Politicians need to learn the same thing. Y'all 50, 60, 70, 80, making
80.
You don't even. Our generation communicates what we want, and you don't do any of it.
The average age of a senator is like what, 72, and that's the average. And you got people like AOC and shit who are hella young, and like
it's dumb.
Yeah.
So speaking about AOC, she was really progressive, and then because this is what they do to the politicians, the young ones that come in, because this is the same thing with the police. People want to actually go in, especially those from marginalized communities. They go into the police force. They understand the abuses and the brutalities that haven't been fixed, and they said, maybe I can fix this from the inside. AOC tried to do it the same way. Well, you figure out is that you get pressured and you get
it's hard. It's a see, that's
house of cards,
and that's why. So,
yeah,
not to get like too outrageously political and stay on one side or something like that, but I can kind of see like the counter debate to how difficult it is to control a culture among a community that has been poisoned. And what I mean by that is like when people are mad at, just say like the police for kind of provide or like perpetuating this culture that has caused what it's causing.
Right.
And it's so fucking hard. It is so fucking hard to just, it's so easy for us to be like, like you're the reason why it's like this, even if you're the nice one, because you're in the system and it's fucked up. And it's like, I don't know.
It's a fraternity. It's like, the policeman is literally they're a fraternity. We're brothers in this.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's like, it's just false piety. Yeah. And my thing is that, so you make up these rules. Mm-hmm. None of us had a choice to be here. You make up these rules and you don't give us any resources to survive. Mm-hmm. You put water in bottles that Earth gives it freely. You charge mothers to give birth to our ass. Mm-hmm. And then you want us to obey and respect you. Yeah. Well, as far as I'm concerned, you can go fuck yourself. Yeah. Our generation's really rebellious, and I'm talking about on both sides. This is some bullshit. It really is.
And you gotta think too, though. Like I don't know if you've noticed this. You probably have definitely noticed this, but over the past couple of years, like sites like OnlyFans, just popping right now. Who's to say that shit doesn't happen for other communities in other ways, like impoverished communities, when they have to resort to relying on like gang culture or relying on, even selling drugs. And that's the thing that, people have to resort to make money. And they're making great money,
Well, you're going to have to break rules to survive if you can't do it the legal way. It's just, and my thing is like, we got to improve the justice system. Yeah, you can't do it from like doing it from within the justice system and changing the laws. It literally has to do with money and education and capitalism.
Yeah.
You just like stop the hierarchical standards of society. Stop the individuals of class. We have to learn how to cooperate with one another. We need cooperative economies where you can only get to a certain level of money and you can only reach a certain threshold where you're at the bottom. And the bare bottom should be you should have access to all necessities needed for survival in an actual good environment, not like a not in a terrible place where the water's terrible.
Yeah.
Or you have access to only liquor stores that serve really unhealthy food.
Yeah.
We should learn how to grow our own food, because I think our generation, we're so busy on fighting them but the thing is that they never taught us how to thrive ourselves.
Yeah.
And so we have to figure out how to do that.
It's, the whole education system and everything. First off, I always say education, hands down, is the most important infrastructure to a society. That is the most,
Agreed.
like, does not matter, whatever, agriculture, food chain and everything like that. Like that doesn't even matter if you have shit education.
Right.
And so I think, if we improved that somehow, I don't know how to do it though.
I mean, it's like, it's not the knowledge that gives power, it's what we do with it.
Yeah.
And so it's like, I've seen people take knowledge and do terrible things.
Oh, yeah.
They'd use it to their own power to manipulate people. And really, it should be used to make this world and our lives better.
Mm-hmm.
Because the thing is that the governments, especially in the Western and European worlds, they have absolutely no reverence for Mother Nature.
Uh-huh.
And it's gotten to the point where even the Earth is saying, hey, the poles are melting, you're about to destroy yourselves. We don't need to save the planet, we need to save ourselves.
Yeah.
The planet will be just fine without us.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the harsh truth about it. But my thing is that these politicians are literally finding a way to use this education about the global warming, and they're reluctant to change it immediately.
Yeah.
Because they're trying to find a way to make profit off of the new energy, which is like stupid. Because by the time they do that, we're going to be fried crispy.
Yeah.
And so when you start to realize that, and you realize the education system that they gave us, it's just not sufficient enough. It's terrible because it's all rooted in bragging about ego.
Do you think that that's more of an issue that politicians have caused, or do you think that's more of an issue that just everyone has caused?
Colonizers learned it from somewhere.
Yeah.
We all learned it from somewhere. There has to be systemic accountability.
Mm-hmm.
But look, there's been 2,000 years of history and of trauma and brutality from every part of the world. Unfortunately for us, we're moving into a time where the frequency is elevating and the consciousness is elevating, where we're starting to figure out we can't be this stupid anymore.
No.
Where it's not the politicians' fault, because there's a balance of individual responsibility and systemic, and I feel that we keep operating in polarities where it's like, oh, it's all their fault, where instead of saying, how have I contributed to this? So if instead that, there are a lot of times where we have marched in thousands. We could literally put a tithe basket like in church. We say, how about we put this money here, and then we say it goes here, and the people who hold the money, they give a record of account of where the money goes, and you show it on video, not for saying, look what we've done, but just for trust.
Yeah.
This is what is needed in our generation, is that we actually need to take initiative. Yeah. Because it's obvious that these old motherfuckers ain't gonna do it for us.
So what's see, because I've been thinking about it recently, what is the responsibility of government? And what's their job? Because, like, I feel like I think that's like the huge debate is how much should the government provide to you? How much should be provided by the government and how much should you be accountable for doing yourself? And I think, for the longest time, for thousands of years, well, millions of years, but thousands of years for humans, it has been a fight for yourself, like there would, even hundreds of years ago, you could be living in a village and then someone comes through, burns it to the ground, and then there's no recourse.
And that's literally what a government is. It's literally it's post-war victory. That's all it is. It's like, okay,
that's true.
We're gonna set up our education systems. We're gonna set up our forms of language. That's gonna be the official religion. This is literally what government is. And when you start to realize that when it's because of conquering other people, then you don't really have respect for it. And especially with America, out of all of them, we have some of the worst false piety out of everything. We say this is a government by the people, for the people, and of the people. Yeah. You said they're supposed to work for us. That's the role of government. That's what you said in the paper. But then you come out and then the very people literally that wrote it were owning slaves while saying we're free. And it's like, it's that hypocrisy.
Yeah.
That literally exists in all of us today. We're literally trying to enforce our laws, thinking we're always right about whatever it is, and we have the authority to do it because we're always light, and we don't address our own shadow work.
Yeah.
Which is what's problem with racism.
Mm-hmm.
Where it's like we're after everything that the system over the generations. You talk about slavery, the killing of the natives, Jim Crow. You broke every treaty with the natives after that, and then you killed them.
Yeah.
Then you have after that, Jim Crow, right? Lynching, segregation. Then you go to the assassination of COINTELPRO with MLK and J. Edgar Hoover and his little cronies at the FBI setting up hits on the black community and Black Panthers.
Mm-hmm.
You go to integration, then redlining in the integration to keep us out of jobs so we don't have access to resources. Then after that is police brutality. And this is just the basic surface level.
Yeah.
And it's like, and every time you're telling us, well, we're free, even in the Second Civil War, we had segregated platoons and we still fought for your ass. My grandparents still fought for your ass. And you can't even came back and didn't even get eligible for the GI Bill. Yeah. And now you're getting mad at us for rioting? Oh, whoa. It's because we just want you to be real with your shit.
I think it's because the whole, and I think nowadays it's like, what's the point if they're not going to vote for me? I think that's the mentality with a lot of politicians is like, why help a community that has no... Like, why? Why would I help you if I give you, just say if you disagreed with me politically, why would I help you so that you can vote me away and vote for one of your own? Then I lose my power. And I feel like even on a subconscious level, that's how these politicians think.
Well, that's how we think as a generation too.
Yeah, yeah.
Like we're doing the same shit that they're doing. And it's like, you watch history repeat itself. The rich, the poor overtake the rich.
Mm-hmm.
They become just like the rich. They become over time. It's all good at first, and then they don't address their own shadow during it, and they stay at the top of the mountain too long.
Yeah.
And people at the poor start getting mad at the rich people who were once poor. Then they overtake it, and it's like just this complete circle of a cycle.
Yeah.
And so what's going to happen to America pretty soon?
Do you think that there is a side on the political spectrum that is more responsible for what is going on than the other, or do you think that it's pretty half and half, or do you think that question can't be answered?
It's I think it's all of our involvement.
You think so?
Yeah, to be honest, because my thing is that when we decide to go after the buildings, right? When we start rioting. Some people start rioting small businesses. Other people actually go after the corrections facilities. I see it all as vanity, since it's like if you're still feeling that you got to work at a job and they're taking federal withdrawal taxes and you go burn down that corrections facility, your tax dollars are paying for that shit.
Yeah.
And so it's just futile. And so what do you do in that situation? And when you have these two parties that literally they're both working against you in different ways.
Yeah.
It's like you make all these promises and you don't follow them up. It's the same shit that we're used to it at this point.
Yeah.
But every time we call you out on it, you get really, really defensive and then start oppressing us for it.
Yeah.
And it's like you keep doing that shit, then we're gonna have to respond differently.
Yeah.
It's just I'm not saying like you know what it is, but it's like it's just human nature.
Mm-hmm.
It's like when you start to realize it's like the same shit over and over again, you don't address it, then it's like now you're forcing us to react in polarities because it's for survival. You know, that's just human nature.
Yeah.
And it's just I don't know how else to explain it. It's like we need to figure out something that doesn't react into polarity, like something like a revolution or a French Revolution, because it's coming.
Do you think that that's going to be is that what it's going to come down to?
I don't think so.
No.
I
never thought so too.
Because I think that we've elevated beyond swords, bayonets, and guns.
Yeah.
You know, I don't. It's more of a revolution of ideas.
Yeah.
This is where you're going to see a lot of innovation and a lot of renaissance. That's the revolution.
Mm-hmm.
But there are a few within our generation.
Yeah.
That want to use violence to do it. And I'm like, well, you know, gravity. The thing about physics, one thing I really appreciate about school is physics, learning about the 3 laws of gravity. Mm-hmm. But what people don't know is that it also applies to the things we create.
Yeah.
It applies to cups. It applies to cars. You drive them after a while, they break down.
Yeah.
We break down after a while. Leaves on a tree, they age. Empires, every single one, risen, fallen. We're next.
Yeah. You think it's going to come after almost 300 years? Because Roman Empire was around for 1,000? 15?
Still.
15? Still?
It's 500. Technically, the actual Roman Empire was 500. It was more, it was like, it started, I don't know, maybe 600-700 years. Well, it started with Julius Caesar.
Yeah.
I can't remember what BC it was. I don't, if it might have been 100.
I think like 100.
It lasted to, I think, 500, the age of Justinian. And you know how it ended? It actually ended with a Justinian plague. And that's where the full collapse of the Roman Empire happened.
Yeah.
And so it's, the fact is that the bigger the rise, the longer you stay up here, the greater the fall of the empire is, the more that people suffer. So for 300 years, with us, it was, you know, like the pyramid on the dollar bill. It's like, you know, the top of the pyramid separate because it's like the intention of staying on top of the mountain. We shouldn't be doing that because that's just not how nature works. You walk up Mount Everest, right? Do people stay up at Mount Everest?
No, they climb the fuck down.
Down. Why? They might take a selfie, right?
Because they're going to die. It's going to kill you being up there for too long. You know, it'll change you. Like, literally, you will stop breathing in oxygen. Your skin will burn. You will, you know, you will pass out and you will die. There has been many people that have died up there.
Right.
You know, so I think it's kind of, you know, what is the baseline amount that you would say? I know there really isn't like a threshold that you can like pinpoint, but like, what is too much?
When you already have all of your resources and you have you're going to buy another business,
yeah,
right, and provide another service, and you're not going to give back to the community with that and help them, that's when you've done too much.
Yeah.
It's like it's okay to have your own business and have own profit and to be able to support your own and all that bills. Mm-hmm. But do you need $1 billion? Who the hell needs $1 billion?
I can't even count that high.
It's like, what do you plan to do with that money?
Make more money. That's the whole point of owning capital is, you know, if you had $1 million, it doesn't mean that you have $1 million. It means you have $1 million worth of assets. And typically, because you're a millionaire in today's society, half or if not most of those assets are making you more money, whether it's your house, collecting interest, or you know putting money into a business and collecting more money out of that, and then taking that money and moving it into another business or throwing it in an investment and then making more on top of that. And so, you know, how much is too much money? And I kind of feel like we live in a society where I kind of understand why there's a fight, because, you know, just say if I made a good quick 10 million or something like that over 20 years and I pull out of everything and that's enough money for me to survive for the rest of my life, someone's going to come in and just put their stake in and make more money. Or someone else who's already rich will just make more money off of the stake that I just let go of. So we're in this like constant tug of war, and so I think it's a little bit more complicated than, well, you have enough, why don't you retire, you know? And so that's why, like, I don't know, it's just such a hard fucking issue, you know?
It is.
You know,
because I mean, our generation is doing the same thing with cryptocurrency. We just build our tower to the sky, see how close we can get to heaven, and it all crashes every time, every single time. It's like it's like we haven't learned.
No.
And it's like I'm watching all these people like really get on Dogecoin. I mean, I don't want to be a hypocrite at the same time because I'm in it, but it's like
I'm in it too.
Because my thing is that I with our generation, it's just like you see the word NFT, and I'm like, what the fuck does that mean? You know what I mean? On the internet, and I'm like, what the fuck is that? And you start to see with the cryptocurrency, like we're doing the same thing. It's like we're trying to get rich off this, and like hopefully, and really, it's out of the fear of not being able to survive in the conditions you're already in.
Yeah.
And so you're like, that's the reason why we make that investment is because it's like, okay, obviously you start to see this is where money is going. And in this system, we need money to survive. So I was like, okay, I better invest this now.
Yeah.
And it's like, but my thing is that because of all the past issues, all the marginalizations, racism, and redlining, most people in the hood, man, they really can't afford computers. Those motherfuckers are expensive.
The internet is a fucking.
So if we have only digitalized currency and they can't access computers, that's literally genocide. Like, you know what I mean?
What if that became? See, now going back to what's the government's responsibility to provide for you? What if that became the responsibility? You know, what if internet? Because when we wrote this Constitution, there was absolutely no idea of a social networking system where we can communicate instantly. That didn't exist.
Right.
People were still throwing parchments on horses and sending them 200 miles away to go deliver a love letter. And now we can send a dick pic to 50 people in 10 seconds.
I don't know if you want to do that, but don't try this at home, kids.
No, I want to make money off of it. But no, like, so, you know, maybe the government should provide us with internet, with technology. I mean, what is...
At least provide us with enough to not use each other for the Hunger Games.
Yeah.
You know, while you guys are sitting in your nice little comfy Hampton homes with your Hampton wives and your Hampton children.
Yeah.
We're playing the Hunger Games against each other. We're literally committing crimes against one another because of the reluctance of the powers that be to change the status quo.
Yeah.
And it's like, you know, our generation kind of figures that out.
Yeah.
But, you know, we have a lot to learn.
What about those people that were in slummy situations that have made it out and that are rich? What about those people?
How many of those are there?
Oh, it's very rare. Yeah. It's a very small percentage of the small percentage, but
same for the rich.
Yeah.
I mean, like, you know, it's like 1% of people.
Yeah.
And literally the game is rigged. You know what I mean? And sometimes you get, what do you call it? You get exceptions. You get outliers. Those are outliers.
Yeah.
So, you know, some people that the amount of sacrifice you have to make in order to get there I would argue is inhumane. Because for some people, or some people, you're just in the right place at the right time.
Oh.
But that doesn't happen for the majority of humanity. And it's like for those people that get inspired by it, it's really, they're only used to keep the hierarchy in the system in place. It's like, this is what it's once again, you have a chance to be a millionaire. That's why people still support capitalism, because they think they can be a millionaire.
That's so weird.
It's the same thing. It's literally to perpetuate that narrative.
Yeah.
It's like no other reason.
Yeah.
It's like it's a lie.
I don't know. Yeah, it's crazy how there's so many people that aren't millionaires that still think that they can be millionaires if they keep continuing to support. And that sounds like the way to do it. That sounds like the way to keep your money if you have a lot of it is to just keep telling people, well, you can have this as well if you play the system, and that system pays them out way more.
Those few those few people that we see that make it from the poor to the rich. In essence, they are lottery tickets personified.
Yeah.
You just hope you get your number right, and so you can win this $millions. But that's why it's still in business. That's why the lottery's still in business, because only one person can win.
Yeah.
That's like only 1% can win.
Yeah. I feel like you have a better chance of dying from a vending machine falling on you.
Yeah.
And we never hear about those stories, but we hear about the one or two people that went from absolutely nothing to becoming a millionaire, because that's the story, you know?
It is.
And so that's what gives us hope and shit. But I don't know. The system is wacky bananas.
There is no hope in this system the way it is. We have to change it. And it's like, you know, and that's going to that involves us. And it's not like fighting them. You know what I mean? It's either you can't do two things at once. Mm-hmm. You know, Martin Luther King said, "Justice delayed is justice denied." We've asked for these many things. The government said no. So we might as well just do it ourselves. Not waste time on them after they made their mind. We actually have to go build it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? We have to build it. That's the only option we have at this point. We have to take our money and the little that we have, use that, and build it.
Yeah.
Because they're not going to do it.
And I can kind of see why it does resort to violence sometimes, though, because it's like, what are you supposed to do? What are you supposed to just wait in line? You know, if your life is in jeopardy, are you gonna wait in line?
Right.
Like, no, I wouldn't. Would you?
I wouldn't.
You know, unless you're. I mean, like, I don't know. It's I don't know. It's kind of fucked up to just tell a group of people, hey, you know what? Just wait your turn.
Maybe next year.
Even though there's a significant amount of proof of people waiting their turn and never getting it. Even going further down by waiting in line. So
yeah, it's the maybe next year sports mentality.
And it's that hustle culture too, where it's like, well, you know, if you put in 16 hours a day, 7 days a week, and you don't hang out with friends no more, and you kind of neglect your body, or you can pay attention to your body and your health, but you're going to be neglecting, your social life or something like that.
Not
you know,
me.
if you can neglect all of that and have what we have, and it's like, for some people, the way that American culture is, it's almost like, everyone can get rich. Not everyone can get rich.
Yeah.
It's impossible. It's not gonna, and I see these graphs sometimes on Instagram where it's like, if you leveled up all the wealth, everybody would have $1 million or $2 million. Do you know how useless money would be at that point?
Right.
If you that's the whole point of money, is that if one person has a lot of it, then it's more valuable just because it's scarce, because this guy's got it locked up away in some asset that is selling this, and it's making him more money.
Right.
Dude, and did you know, I read this online. If you started a job at year 0 and you made $1 million every week, and you didn't spend a single dime of it, you still would not come close to Elon Musk's or Jeff Bezos's net worth. $1 million a week. I don't even know what to do with $1 million a week. I couldn't even spend $1 million a week fast enough, even if I was frivolous to my friends. Right. And they got it. So I don't know.
It's vanity.
Yeah.
It's complete vanity. It's just like you feel better about yourself after you have all that money, and it's like now. Yeah. What they did with it is we're going to take this money now, we're going to build a rocket to the sky while using the resources that are while doing it to destroy the Earth.
Yeah, that's the craziest shit too. Batteries and buildings and infrastructure and all of this pollution that's caused by making all of this electricity. I mean, electricity's great, but you gotta use some source to make it, and a lot of the times, a lot of it's made by coal or gasoline.
Right.
And so, you're basically fucking up this planet in order to leave it in hopes of finding a better place somewhere else.
Right. Which is just stupid. And these guys are the ones that we tout as smart. And it's like you name your baby after a formula, a math formula, but you can't see it's like actually you destroying the very earth that gives you breath.
Yeah.
That's the stupidest shit I've ever heard of in my life.
Oh.
So it was like cool thing you can build all these rockets with all these numbers and equations and shit, but if you look around you with basic observation, now's not really the time for that shit.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And it's not carbon. It's not our carbon footprint. It's our heat. Everything we do, right? This is why solar power is so important, because we're actually getting heat from the sun. Mm-hmm. But it's like we're actually creating too much heat. Like it takes heat when you put on those lights, you put your hand on the light, it's hot.
Yeah.
It's the heat. We are emitting too much heat collectively.
Yeah.
Using cars, they heat up when you drive them. We're emitting too much heat to the point where the actual temperature of the globe is heating up.
Yeah.
Which is why
it's crazy how nobody really it does that all the time. People say that all the time. It does that. It happens every 1,000 years that the temperature goes up. I mean, that's like look at this temperature graph. And it's like, but that doesn't concern you. Right. That doesn't worry you. That worries me a fuck ton.
Most of the shit we've created is to get to have more pleasure in our lives, more convenience.
Yeah.
Cars are for convenience.
Oh yeah.
I want to get to work faster. I want to do this. You're living so damn fast. We don't even know how to live in the present moment.
No.
It's like that's why in our generation, that's what we've been handed down. Look how many farmers there are. We can't even grow our own food.
No.
Like if you look at the percentage of farmers now, it's bad.
It's like it's below 1%.
Like what the hell are we gonna do if we don't eat food?
And it's industrialized farmers, not
right.
like you can't farm an acre. It's got to be 100 acres. It's got to be 400 acres of something to feed an animal or to feed people or to just chemically change it into a hot dog or change it into a Pop-Tart. It's like it requires so much, and we just I don't know. I think farming is taken way too much for granted, and we don't understand enough about it because we're not educated.
So and after I'm done with this album, I'm literally gonna learn how to farm. I'm gonna learn how to toil as well.
Yeah.
Like because of this system, like I was neglected as a kid. Like most of us, when our parents are at work, even if you're in a middle class household, that's really nice. If your parents aren't home to take care of you, that's really what childhood's about.
Yeah.
It's like if the mother bird's not at the nest to teach to provide, right? Mm-hmm. You're providing, but a part of that provision is to teach the chick to learn how to fly.
Yeah.
It's not the parents' fault. It's capitalism's fault.
Yeah.
Oh man, we're not gonna have a roof over our head.
There's a lot of people that don't know how to cook. A lot of people our age that have no clue how to cook food. Our age, we eat out constantly. Right. We have to, rely on other people to do shit for us. And we were never taught any of this because, a lot of our parents had to go out. They had to hustle,
Right. And so with that, now we don't, even if we have the time to do it, we don't want to do it. We're afraid to do it because it requires being in the present moment. Yeah. But we're always on the move of trying to get to the next accomplishment, to the next level.
Yeah.
It's like we're just afraid of the present moment.
Yeah.
And that's literally, if we keep that up, there won't be a present moment for us.
Because I have a friend who literally told me this the other day. It says, what's the point of cooking? It just takes a lot of time. And it's like, well, what else are you doing with that time? You're on your phone? You're just watching Netflix?
Yeah.
A lot of shit takes time, but it's I don't know. I think that that mental forwardness, that's what really and it takes a lot to try to initiate that, It's really hard to initiate it, especially if you have no clue what you're doing, So like taking care of yourself, I mean, and why is it that, why is it that more and more people are living at home longer and longer? It's because of this system. It's getting much more difficult. College tuition is skyrocketing. Gas prices are skyrocketing, and people say, "Oh, it naturally does that because of inflation." But inflation it's rising way quicker than our ability to catch up to it.
I just realized something.
Huh?
I don't think we have to fight the system at all for a new system.
Yeah.
Because if we're all living with one another, they've lost.
Yeah.
Think about it. If we're all moving in the same house with our parents and we're all in the same communities growing food, we don't have to fight them at all. We just need to stop using their shit.
Yeah.
It's already headed in that direction. So it's like, we can't survive. In order to afford this house, we have to stick together.
Yeah.
That means less people buying less houses, which means less money for the rich people, which is great.
Dude, that's how we do it.
That's what works out at the end.
Let's start our community. Dude, let's do it. Let's buy this whole apartment complex. We'll grow a garden right outside.
And, but that's when things start to get really dicey because, when you're around proximity of a lot of people and you don't have that, because personal space is a very important thing. We have to learn how to live together.
Yeah.
And I feel that we have been equipped for failure because we are so hell-bent on wanting to feel pleasure all the time. If we don't feel pleasure, even if it's not pleasurable, then it gives us anxiety.
Yeah, that's true.
I know this. I'm a fat guy. I like to eat. If I don't have food, I get anxiety.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But at this point, this is potential energy, not kinetic energy. This is the result of things that I have to go out of my way to unlearn. I can't blame Joe Biden for being fat. I have to go out, and of course that's not bad by beauty standards. But when I'm walking and running and I'm starting to get aches and pains and my back is hurting, you know what I mean? We have to be realistic about shit. Then it's not because you're. I've read shit saying that it's not because of your weight. It's like doctors need to be doing certain things to a certain extent. But when you start getting your back pain like me at 28 because of scoliosis because of the weight, on my stomach, I was like, I know where the hell it's from. I can own that shit.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, I got to go on walks. I have to do things that don't feel good in the moment in order to have a content life. We can't always feel pleasure all the time.
Yeah.
Because when pain comes, it feels much worse than it is.
And it's so crazy how everything has to give us pleasure, and if we don't have it, like we resort to like jumping on our phone real quick, going on Instagram, start scrolling, going on TikTok, going on YouTube, going on something and giving us that, like it's crazy how everything just has to be pleasurable for us. And I think that's the cause of a lot of anxiety, is that we've gotten into this state where it's like, well, we're, back then, we didn't have phones, we didn't have anything. You just sat there. Imagine life before TVs and radios, where you just, all right, guys, I'm going to go home. And you go home and you just sit there.
Right. Read the newspaper.
Yeah, like make something, go fix something, pet your horse, whatever.
But reading is actually a present moment thing. You have to focus.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And so it's like all this technology, it's too fast.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like have us operate too fast, where it's like the present moment is literally all we have, but we're thinking about every other moment. It's either the past or the future. It's always the polarity. It's not now.
Mm-hmm.
And I say this not as a wise person. I'm talking about my own behavior.
Yeah.
And so I've watched a lot of us, because my thing is that the reason why we're so addicted to pleasure is because we have the system that we live in has caused unnecessary suffering for us. So you're coming out the gate without lack of resources, right? And there's this hierarchy, and you're going through things. You go on the playground getting bullied, and then you take into account all of the parental abuses that they learned from being within the system when they were trying their best. And it's like you start to accumulate that, and so we start resorting to things that are unhealthy for us, like what I'm doing. It's like, you eat You don't like the taste of fruits and vegetables, but you want to eat that kids eat, or you want to. That's why That's why drugs is popular in poor communities, because that's how much suffering it is in this state, in the system that it's in.
Yeah.
And so
it's so easy to feel better with drugs or with food or with mental stimulation via technology or any of that, you know. Even when I'm editing videos, it's just like it requires like, you know, focus, and it's a little painful sometimes just sitting there and watching a clip, going back, watching a clip, cutting it. Oh, I breathed there, cutting that. Okay, moving that. All right, doing a slide. And it's, you know, there's a lot of, you know, but like when you get into that flow of doing it for a while, then that's how you get into that present moment, right. You know. And I think a lot of people, no, I don't think a lot of people need it, but I highly suggest a lot of people do that. You know,
getting in the present moment, because especially for us men, I feel like the hardest moment for us is to be present.
Yeah. And
so and the way that we get over that, really, luckily, is with therapy. We really need therapy as people.
Yeah.
As men, especially, because of just with all of the things because most of the stuff that we know, most of all the things that we've created have been from patriarchal perspectives, man.
Yeah. Like,
we have created quite a hellish world of imagination for ourselves and for others.
Yeah.
And it's like we're taking it out on everybody. And it's like now everybody's contributing to it. And so this is, when you start to figure that out, in order to be in the present moment, we have to literally go back to the source of where we were created.
Yeah.
Because when our mothers give birth to us, it's scientifically proven we cannot handle that much pain.
No.
They never ask us for anything. They breastfeed us after that, right? They didn't. My mom didn't ask me for an invoice. You know,
yeah.
like okay, I gave birth to you. Where my money at?
Yeah.
No. Then she continued to nurture me. I think that's how our system should be. Because it's like, you know, that's reverence. That's reverence for life. And you know, when you it's gratitude for being here, for saying that I gave birth to this child, and it cost me much pain, but it's worth it.
Yeah.
All people are worth it. And how that ties in, because I feel that us men, we've got so caught up in trying to take over everything.
Yeah.
So caught up in trying to do it. We don't understand about what it means to be present, and that's where we have to go back to the source of creation. We got to go back to our moms.
Yeah.
We should ask, honestly, we should ask women, ask people of color, ask non-binaries, how do you stay present in the moment? We have to come out with a system that just allows us to be present.
Yeah.
First things first, though. In order to get into the habit, we have to heal from trauma.
Yeah.
And luckily there are a lot of people working on the scene, working on therapy.
Yeah.
And that's what we need for us is therapy. Let's just get there that we can move on behavioral.
Yeah.
You know?
Now, how much of that comes down to personal accountability versus what society needs to work on? Because I kind of feel like it is possible to live in the present moment, no matter where you are, or what you're doing, or you know where you're at. It's just a matter of how you're gonna do it. And so, what is the way? I kind of don't. It's a weird question, but like, what? Fuck it, I don't. This is such a tough conversation.
It's a real one.
Yeah.
It's a real one. It's not political. It's a human thing. Because my thing, it takes personal responsibility to say I'm going to go to therapy.
Yeah.
You know, because we're in our own minds a lot. We're trying to. That's the thing.
That's all we're always at.
That's not the present.
Yeah.
I'm here right now in this moment.
Yeah.
Chris. You see, we're having a podcast. These are present we're talking. We're having a conversation.
Focus. Yeah.
That's present. Where it's like I can look at this and say that's a guitar. That's a bass. It's like noticing the things around you. That's like observing the present moment, not saying, wait, what do I need to do today? Oh crap, at 8 o'clock today. That's what we do. Oh shit, this phone. Let's see what's other people doing.
Yeah.
It's like sitting still is fucking hard for me. I'm an ADHD guy, but there's like a point where I'm like, do I stay victim to this?
Yeah.
Because nobody else is gonna help me. It's not their job.
Yeah.
And so it's like, what do I do for myself?
Mm-hmm.
I need help. That's the first thing we have to admit for ourselves, because I sure as hell need it. I need help a lot.
Yeah.
And it's like, I'm getting therapy for that. There's this thing in Sacramento right now with my friend. It was started by my friend called, his name's Dr. Armando Gonzalez. He's a therapist, and he's providing this thing called brain spotting therapy, and it's called Cheat Code. And so basically the community has raised a lot of funds for those in marginalized communities to get therapy, because we don't have access to therapy, even as a young generation, especially after this pandemic.
Yeah.
It's like most of us are afraid to go back to our jobs because of contracting this really deathly virus.
Yeah.
Even with the vaccine, because there's new strains now.
Yeah.
And so we're afraid of that. And then at the same time, they don't pay us enough there to even want to go.
That's, yeah.
And so this right here, how that ties into what Dr. Mondo's doing is that we can't afford the resources in order to get ourselves out of the trauma. So we keep resulting in survival mode behaviors, therefore hurting ourselves and hurting each other. That's why our mental health's so fucked up in our generation. I can attest for myself.
We look for quick relief.
Yeah, because it's just too much.
Yeah.
So, right. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I want to change the subject because we got some time left, but I'm gonna ask you a question.
What's up?
Serious question.
Serious.
Where's the album?
I'm growing. That's literally my album's coming out on my birthday. My thing is that I had
Okay. When's your birthday?
July 26th.
July 26th. Okay.
So with this album, I've had like hella release dates.
Yeah, because I thought it was coming out in December.
Yeah, me too. Yeah. But I really had to face myself. I call the album Transcendentalism.
Uh-huh.
I think a lot of artists, what they don't realize when they create works is that you're hitting a part of yourself that in order to create your art, you have to be in tune with yourself. You have to learn about yourself. That's why I knew albums, but it was like I had to learn about myself. I had to learn about my shadow work. I had to learn about myself and how I feel about certain things. There was just a lot of artists didn't come out with creations during the pandemic. And
I thought there would be more of that too.
Nope.
Yeah.
It's a time of sitting still and great deep inner reflection.
Yeah.
And so because that's really where revolutionary art and Renaissance comes from. It comes from within. And most artists in the industry, they tell us that if you listen to Common and Kendrick and J. Cole and you listen to No Name, and you listen to all these artists, and they're even throughout history, Stevie Wonder, they're talking about being in tune with yourself. That's how you make great music.
Yeah.
Being yourself. It's the artist and the innovation, not the art. The art is just the expression of the artist. And so, but in order to express yourself as an artist, you have to go within. I didn't know how to do that. Like I spoke from an unconscious realm in my debut album.
Yeah.
I spoke from a place of where I thought I was. I was coming to the beginning of fullness of self. This pandemic, after I came back from tour with Frank, I was grateful for the tour, but I felt empty because literally this is what I wanted to do with my life. And I said, why do I feel empty? And that was literally the start of a journey of going within. Mm-hmm. And so when you start to realize that and you're starting to make an album, you get in this place. It's like, I'm going to make music to get here into this place and to do these things, right? It's like, I want to get successful in this area. I want to be able to change the world in this way. And it's like, I didn't even ask myself what I needed. I wasn't even paying attention to my own needs and wants. And when I was making the album, I started to realize that. And I wasn't able to get the sound that I was looking for because I wasn't dealing with my own traumas that really, during this pandemic, really started to hit a head. Mm-hmm. And so, I came up with a lot of release dates. didn't follow through on those release dates because it was just like the insecurity. I had to work through that. And plus I didn't have the resources to afford to get to the level within art in order for it to be socially acceptable.
Yeah.
So I went in and learned new skills. I went in and bought new equipment, learned how to master that. Now I have like 3 other masteries in music that I can say. Like I can fully mix now.
Really?
Yes.
Okay. Anything or just your genre?
Anything.
Anything.
I'm not genre specific. If I wanted to make a country song, I could.
Okay.
And of course I'm getting better every day.
Yeah.
But I took the time to learn. Because my thing is that I don't like hiring other people for a project that I have invested the entirety of my being in.
Yeah.
And I want the mixing to reflect the quality of musicianship and the quality of production and the quality of my lyrics. And so it's like and when you don't have that per se, because it's like other people, they think they know what you want. And I'm like through and through. Like, and this also comes from the arrogance of the producer. Because us producers, when we make beats, we're arrogant. That's my beat. And we separate the artist from it. But the artist, without the beat, I can't listen to your fucking instrumentals all day. I can't listen to my own instrumentals. I need to write something to it. I need to hear words. Words are the most powerful thing. It is the poet.
It's the loudest thing on the track.
It's the most important thing is the voice. And of course, I'm not saying that instrumental musicianship is bad because it's beautiful.
Yeah. No.
But you make music specifically for that case. You could tell when a beat is supposed to have a vocal on it, and most of the producers that are really like hell bent on ownership of this, we neglect the artist's needs and the artist's voice, which is what we are supposed to cater around that. And so when I applied that to mixing, is that the engineer, you get classic albums with great engineers. So like To Pimp a Butterfly, you have mixed by Ali. With D'Angelo's Voodoo, you have Russell Elevato. It is not the quality, it's some of the technicality is involved in that, but it is the relationship between the engineer and the artist that is the most important. And I felt like a lot of engineers, because I'm very closed when it comes to my social life.
Yeah.
There aren't people that really understand me on a musicianship level.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Or what I'm trying to go for. And I feel like I would rather learn this and then help other people with it instead of somebody trying to do it for me. And it's like there's just, when it comes to your creation, when it comes to your baby, you want to have full control over the entirety of the process.
Oh yeah, it's your baby.
Yeah, and so I had to learn new skills, and so I wanted to do that. I wanted my musicianship to reflect the quality that I heard it in my head, and so I had to go back and learn. But I learned it.
Okay.
It took me forever, but I was like, my thing is that I do have a perfectionism streak, but I'm one of those people that actually follow through on it.
Yeah. So what besides that, what is the message that you're trying to give off with the album as a whole? Or is that a secret?
It's finding the balance between my good side, or I wouldn't even call it the good side. It's just like the side where it's like the things I like about myself, and then the behaviors that I don't like about myself, the things that I don't like about the system. It's from projection to reflection, but it's like I teeter-totter between those things, just because it's really hard to want to really deal with your own stuff when everybody here's a critic. It's like we always want to point out the problem in everybody else except ourselves.
Yeah.
And I'm no different than anybody, but it's like we've gotten to a place where we do it so much because of the trauma we have, where we take it out on each other and we can't even have a real conversation about like just our own experience. And our own, even the things that we hurt, it's like we cancel people for hurting, but others, right? Or for saying things that we don't like. And it's like, these people have come from environments where they are ignorant to what we know and what we have learned. And so we shouldn't be on such a, high horse. And I say we because I know our generation and I know myself. And so it's just like, you deal with that shadow work of how when you point the finger, 3 are pointing back at me. But the process of the album starts here, ends here. It's a process to get from me pointing the finger at you to see the 3 fingers pointing back at me. This is what you're doing. It's like, oh shit, I need to really heal from my trauma. It's talking about that process to help with help to facilitate growth within our lives and to help really cultivate healthier relationships and better contentment in life. But that really, we have to be completely honest with ourselves about certain things. Where there's systemic things that we have assorted to that have hurt others, that we have contributed, no matter what intersect it is. We have all had toxic behaviors. And we have all had, we've all hurt people. Nobody here, but at the same time, we cast our stones as if we have not sinned against one another. And so it's like, when you start to go about that, then you start to see that this world is a macrocosm collectively of our ego, not wanting to work on our own shit and own our own shit.
Yeah.
And so this album is really how do I transcend to the place where I can own my own shit so I can set myself free from this bullshit mentality that literally leaves me in the ground.
Yeah.
And so that takes time. It's not like, I called it that, but then the universe was like, well, you're going to actually have to deal with it before you can actually have the enlightenment to do it. And that's what been happening.
Yeah.
So there's that.
Well, we hit an hour.
Yeah?
Yeah. That was a fast hour.
Really? Jesus.
Yeah. So that's all the time that we have. But dude, thank you so much for coming out. Dude,
Always.
We're going to do this again.
Yeah,
We're definitely going to do this again.
Yeah, I might have to be like on the Joe Rogan podcast. I might have to be the wingman. You can be Batman. I be Robin Hood.
Okay. All right. Yeah. Let's do it. All right.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much, Phil. Catch you guys later.
All righty, y'all.